Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
We are going to kill you. I'm so scared.
Welcome everybody to Handle with Scare. Here on Handle with Scare, we are all about terror and titillation. This is where two ghoul friends, I'm never going to get ghoul friends, are here to spill about all things bizarre, burlesque, and body mods, which I don't have because I'm a woman of Christ. As always, we want to hear what you want what do you want to hear. So let us know in the comments. What do you want to hear us talk about? What do you want from us?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow all of our pages below, and join the Drop Tent Network to keep up with what we're doing and check out all of their other cool podcasts.
Cool podcast.
Cool podcasts.
Cool runnings.
I hate you. I'm so tired of you. What are we going to talk about today, Anna?
Definitely not cool runnings.
You are so true.
Well, we're going to talk about women. W-I-M-M-I-N-Z. Women's.
Women's. Okay. All right. So before we talk about the women's, you know what time it is?
It's time for
Dumb
tattoo
of the week. Don't forget that you can send in your favorite dumb tattoo to our email, which is going to be down below. I'm not going to spell it out every time because I'm already over it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you remember Vine?
I do. R.I.P. Vine.
I think you remember it really well. You want to know why?
I do.
Because you have a Vine tattoo.
I do. This week's dumb tattoo of the week is my very one and only Vine tattoo. That is, yup, Sweet Baby Ray's on a set of tits.
Barbecue sauce on my titties.
So I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties.
Do you think that they use Sweet Baby Ray's at Chili's?
I don't know.
That brings me to my next point. R.I.P. the Welcome to Chili's kid.
Oh,
who passed away this weekend.
I forgot about that. R.I.P. Welcome
Some
to
celebrity
Chili's
death
kid.
hit harder, and that one hit.
And that one hit. Comment below what your favorite Vine was. Mine was obviously barbecue sauce on my titties.
Mine is iridocyclitis.
Oh, that was a good one. Also, if you want your very own Vine tattoo, you can book with Anna at pushtattoo.com. She is the one that did that amazing Vine tattoo. She also did an entire sheet of Vine tattoos.
I did. When will you learn?
Yeah. There were so many good ones.
I'm going to continue to do impressions until you die.
That's fair. One time I went to a Vine burlesque show. And
did you?
Yeah, one of the challenges for that show, they had a game in the interval, and it was say as many vines as you could in like the span of a minute, but you couldn't just like say them, like you had to act out the whole vine.
I would
It was
win.
me and like 3 other people, and we just sat up there and we were like, all right, cool. I want a church girl who go to church and read her Bible. And like it was for like 5 minutes.
Country boy.
Yeah. And that was the number that I saw, that I saw one of my favorite numbers to date, which was Masokiss. If you don't follow the Philadelphia burlesque scene, be sure to check her out. Her burlesque is incredible. She is the industrial ballerina that is always on point. She did an entire number on point, but instead of wearing point shoes, she was in solo cups after the vine of the dude in the bathroom with the cups on his feet. She did this entire number with solo cups on her feet on point. It was the most incredible number that I've ever seen.
Was that the one to Limp Bizkit?
No, it was not to Limp Bizkit. I did that. So
yeah, that was a mashup.
Yes, I impersonated Masokiss.
It was a math up, if you will.
It was a mass up for Switch a Bitch in a competition. And I did her Limp Bizkit number.
What's that been like, Heather, as a woman in burlesque? Let's talk about women things.
Let's talk about
W-I-M-M-I-N-Z.
Yeah. So not just necessarily being a larger lady over here, being in the burlesque scene and being an alternative looking and alternative performing person gets a little tricky, because a lot of the times when people do think about burlesque, they think about classic strip teases, very slow and sensual with rhinestones and feathers, and they think of Dita Von Teese, Dirty Martini. They think about all of the greats that have really shown and strutted around the stages of the world and really like blown it out of the water. And then I came along and I started doing something very, very different, where I said, hey man, I've got a number where I shotgun a Four Loko covered in cigarette packs.
This is the John Waters of burlesque, everybody. This is the divine.
The garbage queen.
Yes. Nix Cum Dump or Mix Cum Dump?
Mix Cum Dump 2020.
Winner.
That is my title as of December. That was a wonderful time. That was an alternative filth pageant.
Well, you know what? I will say I've seen Heather perform. I've seen it. Rigor More Tits.
Yes, you can
is
find
her
me.
Name.
Book me. Rigor More Tits Burlesque. Follow me on Instagram. Keep up with my shenanigans. If you ever need somebody that's going to throw out a mashup or two.
Yeah.
Give you some weird, uncomfortable situations. I'm going to make you say, oh, hell no. But I kind of liked it.
Yeah, everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. I do enjoy the amount of celebration there's been when you have done burlesque. You made it very far.
Yeah, it's
in PBBR. Very far.
Yes, I was a finalist in PBBR
Finalist.
8.
Yes,
Yeah.
And just an overall winner and a gem.
Thanks. It's been different. It's hard to get bookings when you have to really be able to sell yourself but remain confident when you see people that are doing the classic numbers and getting twice as many bookings as you, but that's okay. Everybody has their niche and their market. You have to really be prepared to carve out a space and be prepared for a lot of people to tell you no because we don't like your look, or no because you're a little too big for us. And I think that that's something that needs to change a lot still in burlesque. And we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. But, even in the city, there's only a few plus size troops. And within those plus size troops, they don't want somebody that's not going to do classic burlesque. They want neoclassical only. And I think that burlesque, like every form of self-expression, deserves to have a little bit more leeway. But you are all about self-expression. So what about you, ma'am?
Well,
let's talk
speaking
about
of
it.
people who, have a little bit of a hard time having the basic average person understand, it's me. Hi. I'm Anna. And welcome to my life. I think it's hard for every woman in this business.
Yeah.
Because it's a male-dominated business.
Yeah.
It's a white male-dominated business. And if somebody wants to call me a twat for saying that on the internet again, go ahead. I am a twat.
You are not a twat. I think that the tattoo industry definitely is
Could use some
heavily-
reform.
It does.
But that's pretty obvious. What I will tell you is it's harder for me as a person who does pop culture tattoos, who does tattoos that don't make any sense. Evan, if you want, you can pull up on the website. There's a portfolio on there. I don't do tattoos that everybody necessarily understands. I've tattooed Adam Sandler on somebody. There you go. I've tattooed literally as many drag queens as you can think of, as many, of those types of imagery. It's all imagery that is fun. I don't take it too seriously. And I think that it's easier for a man to get away with that attitude.
I would agree.
I experience a lot more scrutiny on my work in general. With the portrait style that I do, It's very like not realistic, and sometimes it's just not literal enough, which is I think the problem that you experience in burlesque. It's just not literal enough for people. They want to see somebody strip. They don't understand the story.
Yeah.
But the ones that do are totally worth it. And I will tell you that it is so many different diverse groups of people. So, and that's the thing too, is you don't see people out there with diverse clientele. You don't see people with plus size clientele. You don't see people with all types of races and different skin tones in their clientele. And that is something that people honestly don't even want to like tap into most of the time. They just want to tattoo the regular white people all the time. They want to do the same shit all the time. But I'm telling you, when a man does jokey tattoos in the way that I do, or not even jokey, but like stuff that doesn't have as much heavy weight to it.
Right.
It's just fun. They don't experience the level of scrutiny that I believe that I do. They're like, oh man, that's sick. That's bro shit, you know? But with me, it's like, oh, like, why is this girl like constantly putting up like funny subject matter, like salad fingers and all this stuff? Like, they're like, why do you even have interest in that? We just want to see you come out here and like just do the basic shit. Just give us
To
flowers,
an extent,
bitch.
they almost like just don't take you as seriously as they should for somebody that has a portfolio, a clientele that you do. I mean, you are an award-winning tattoo artist. You've won an award at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention before
And
COVID,
you know what?
obviously.
One of my favorite tattoos that I've done. Evan, if you don't mind going back to the portfolio, we have this lovely 7-Eleven situation that I did that is the award-winning tattoo.
Yeah, it is
probably one of the more
that
there
one
it
right
is.
there. Yep.
That probably one of the more fun things that
Yeah.
I've gotten to tattoo, and I, never would have expected it. In fact, my client literally just came up to me with the award and was like, "We won!" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were here." But yeah, that's the award-winning tattoo, y'all.
And I mean, the color
So
is
somebody
beautiful.
takes me fucking seriously at the Philadelphia Tattoo
Yo,
Convention.
that texture work on the top where
Yeah.
the actual slushy is so sick though, with like
It's
the
so
light and
good.
everything.
Like-
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's really
Thank
nice.
you, and God
But like,
bless you.
it's
Is that the new? Are we gonna make T-shirts with that?
Yeah,
I guess we're gonna make T-shirts with that.
yeah, bless.
Oh no.
It'll be the salad fingers,
Yeah.
Virgin Mary, and white outlines
Beautiful.
on a black shirt. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
So
Keep an eye
yeah.
out for our merch collection.
But let me tell you what, this tattoo was not as like online,
Like,
as
well received online.
until I won the award. People didn't start taking it seriously, what I was doing seriously, until I won an award, until
Which
I
is
hit
such a
10,000
shame.
followers. But when I hit that 10,000 followers, I hit that fucking audience, that mean,
that like aggressive nasty.
audience. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to see that. They're like,
They don't want to
hit me
see
with
other
something.
people thriving on
Yeah.
things that are unique to them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to see somebody as inclusive as I am doing that, because it fucks up the gatekeeping.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think that is a heavily gate kept area.
Yes, completely. But you know what? You know what else is? The horror community.
Yeah. I think the horror community can be a really, really nasty place. Sometimes just as much as the burlesque community or the tattoo community, anything else that we've talked about so far. And I think it's really great when you can get a movie that takes that really heavy misogynized material, like a woman being abused, or a woman that is just different, a woman that's being bullied, and they can turn it around and really either use it to exact some beautiful, beautiful revenge, or just use it in a way to only benefit them. And I think that as a horror viewer and as a woman in general, that is something that I relate to so heavily, that like makes me go like, fuck yes.
None shot more beautifully than American Mary by the Soska
The Toast
sisters.
Sisters.
Two fabulous women who actually are featured in the movie. But American Mary is about a struggling medical school student dealing with the misogyny of all of the people around her, especially her professors. And she gets involved with the underground body modification scene.
Yeah.
And her professors proved to be way worse people than any of these underground
Way worse
body
people.
modification
And
people. And she really fucks them up.
yeah, she exacts revenge in such a beautiful way while coming into her own and utilizing her skill and her knowledge to really just benefit it. And I mean, everything down from the lighting in that movie, the soundtrack
Yeah.
in that movie is probably one of my favorite soundtracks.
Yeah.
Loser by Kevy, in the scene where she is pouring the beer that turns to blood in his fantasy is it's such a beautiful scene.
It's all about Betty Boop for me.
Yeah,
all about her for me.
Listen, we know I love
We love her.
Betty Boop. I got her
We
tattooed
love
on my
her.
arm. There is something so phenomenal about Beatrice's character,
Mm-hmm.
and Beatrice basically being like, this bimbo aesthetic is what I've always wanted, and
And still
this
a
is
bad bitch.
still the baddest of bitches.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is, like, she even says it, one of her first lines in the movie is, what do you see when you look at me? And she is so proud of
Yeah.
the work that she has gotten to make herself feel the way that she's always felt.
And you sit there and you think at first, oh, I'm supposed to respect these medical professionals in the beginning. When really you end up coming out of the movie respecting these people in this underground community.
Yeah, that have done so
yeah.
much to basically just find their sense of self and their version of what they wanted to be. And somebody that could have let something completely ruin her build this empire that, you know, to the outside world, they didn't quite get it, but to her clientele, to
Yeah.
the people that knew, she was their everything.
Which is literally how I try to live my life.
Yeah.
I really do. I just want all of these people who maybe like they don't have somebody to talk about fucking, I don't know, Clue with or whatever, but they can come, they can get the tattoo, they can talk about it, and I can execute it in a way that will make them happy. And that's
That's
the
that.
sitch with that
That is
movie.
the sitch.
But let's talk about something way more grim. I Spit on Your Grave, the grimmest.
Oh, I Spit on Your Grave is one of those movies that
Great remake.
a phenomenal remake. And even the sequel, I Spit on Your
Yep.
Grave too, is phenomenal. One of the very few movies, again, that has like a really good
All of them are good.
1-2 situation.
Yep.
I Spit on Your Grave, you start that movie feeling so sick. And you're like, I'm not going to be able to watch this. There's no way that they're going to be able to redeem this in a way that I'm going to think that what I just saw was okay.
And content warning actually in every single one of the movies that we talk about today.
Pretty much.
Content warning every time. Please do not watch this if you're sensitive to issues of abuse, rape, murder. Well, I mean, obviously you're here at the horror podcast. You're fine with murder, but let's, everything else is a little sensitive, especially in this movie. This is one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen.
It hurts to watch this movie to
Yeah.
this day. And even though I love this movie, I find myself not watching it as much because
Right.
it is a struggle
I also
to get through.
I
at
also feel
first.
like I don't know. I think that the beginning and the trauma is so bad that I don't know that the revenge is as satisfying as it is in American Mary, because this is just a constant, like it's hitting you
it's
every
a struggle.
And
It is.
I don't know that if I went through that situation, would be able to find closure in the revenge.
But what I will say is, because of that exact reason, I think that's why these movies are so prominent.
Right.
Is because I feel like in instances of this really hard subject matter, you don't ever want to make it a thing where it's like, we put it in and now we're playing it off and it's something that they can easily get over. Like, no, this is not something that you easily get over.
Right.
And I think that even though that the revenge in a lot of people's minds is probably not enough, I think that this movie handles the weight
Yeah.
of the trauma
Yeah.
so beautifully. And that seems like such a weird word to say, but
Yeah.
it really does handle it in the way that it makes you uncomfortable, and it
accurate.
should be uncomfortable.
The accuracy in this movie is what makes it so disturbing and hard to watch, because
Yes.
you really feel like that is exactly like you just feel that situation. But the revenge in the remake is so much greater because of the one trap,
Yeah.
that man getting shot in the asshole.
Yeah. It is a good one.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
The best one for sure.
There's something so satisfying about that, which
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people will have words for that to say. But if you do,
So
get
this,
fucked. Like,
as much of a classic as this is, no more a classic than Carrie. My
Carrie,
fave.
absolutely.
Yes. Absolute fave. This revenge, I'm fine with. I don't think that Carrie dying at the end, sorry to spoil that fucking common movie for you people. Her dying at the end does not bother me.
No, not at all.
Because I don't know that I would want to go through my life in the way that she would have had to.
And I don't think they ever set it up where she would have been prepared to,
Right.
realistically. Like, the way that they set up that movie and the way that she handled everything, you don't ever get the feeling of like, oh, she's gonna
Right.
make it out. The only thing that you really see every time that you watch that movie is, I feel like every time you watch it, you want that prom scene to end
Yeah.
differently, and you know it's not going to, but you still sit there and you hope for her. And to watch that change, you're like,
Yeah.
shit, like it happened again. Like, you knew it was going to.
Yeah, and I think what's crazy is I feel the most satisfied by the stigmata at the end of her mom being like crucified.
Yeah.
Like that, she was the chief reason why she was in that situation.
Yeah.
Most satisfying death in that movie, but best character in that movie by far.
It was
her mom.
phenomenal. And I think it's a really funny, where so many people were so afraid of her character.
I
Like,
believe she won an award. Do we know that if Piper Laurie won an award for that role as her mom?
I think she might have.
I
think
feel
she
like
might
she
have.
did.
Yeah.
I
know
she
that
should have.
Agreed. If she didn't, she should have.
What a performance!
Honestly, though, and it's funny, I've seen interviews of her, and she thinks it's absolutely hysterical that people found her so scary, because she's like, I was having like the time of my life. I was laughing and I was smiling, and we were
Right.
like, that's what made it worse.
But Carrie herself, not terrifying to me at all. Her mom, way more terrifying.
No, I don't think Carrie was terrifying at all, but I think that there was something in her like raw power that you were just like, holy shit. Like,
Let me tell you what death I felt in that movie. When that gym teacher gets backed up against the wall and that piece of ceiling falls on her, I was like, fuck that.
yeah.
I'm not dying fast enough with that.
No, that's fair. I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another one of my favorites when it comes to this is actually a movie called MFA. And it is one of those movies that, again, a woman who is an art student getting ready to get her master's of fine arts is struggling with finding like the passion in her art project. Like, they feel like she hasn't had any growth. She starts talking to a classmate, is raped, and then is trying to cope with it. And in her attempts of coping with it, she's realizing all of the stigmas that you see are true. She goes to the guidance counselor and the grief counselor, and she basically is like, did you actually say no? Do you remember saying no? Did you drink? All of the questions that, let's stop asking people in this situation those questions.
The only problem that I saw with it was just how like they made it so like hokey. Like they're like, did you drink?
Yeah,
Did ya?
I would agree.
Yeah, and
But
I'm
I think
like,
what made it for this movie is not only did she exact this revenge for her own
Right.
and then continue to exact it on other people.
Yeah.
There was something about the way that movie ended, spoiler alert for people who haven't seen it, sorry, where she gets her diploma, says this beautiful speech about these things, and then confidently stares this detective in the face and is like, see ya, and walks off stage with her diploma
Right.
and her little art bag and is like, I've accomplished what I needed to do.
Right.
And she was so satisfied on what she did that she really didn't care
Right.
what happened, because nothing could tell her that she didn't bring justice to what she wanted to bring justice to,
Right.
even if it meant her going away.
I think it's good to see this happen in like a modern
In a modern
movie.
situation.
And you know what? I recently watched one, Promising Young Woman. Anybody see that?
I have not seen that yet, but it is on my list and I've heard wonderful things about it.
It's it doesn't end the way that you hope it will, but it ends pretty satisfyingly. The revenge is very much the long game in that movie. It's not so much a horror movie. It's more of a thriller. It's more along the lines of like a level of like a Seven type thriller, or like something that is like not so much like meaning to scare you as it is meaning to interest you
Right.
in the subject matter. But it is a good I think it's a 2021 movie. Like I think
Okay. Relatively new.
it's super new. Bo Burnham plays the perfect complacent character, the most complacent character I've ever seen, and we need to talk about those people more.
Complacent people in the situation.
Yes.
In the communities, the ones that gatekeep, maybe not the ones that are necessarily causing it, but the ones
Right.
that allow it to
The ones that
slide
are
by.
friends with the tattoo artists that are inappropriately sending photos to their clients. The ones that are the ones in the photography / burlesque / horror communities that still continue to work with people who have problematic pasts. The bars that allow shows to happen that are run by terrible people that
Or
everybody
allowing
knows.
people into the space that are unsafe, that are
Or the people that book shows in bars that are not safe.
fair.
Yes.
I think these are all things that we need to
These
take a look at.
complacent characters, that's complacent. You book a show at a bar that is not up to standards, it's not safe for your people, that allows people to come in that are unsafe to be around the performers. You are complacent. You are Bo Burnham in that movie, and you need to watch Pretty Promising
Yeah, now
Young
I'm going
Woman.
to go home and watch it. I'm super excited.
Yeah, because I've never seen a more perfect character played. That is the literal 2021 character trope that I need more of, is the
That
complacent
complacent
character.
character.
Not the rapist, not the revenge. I need the person that just sat back and let it happen and is okay with it and is too much of a pussy to do anything about it. I need more awareness brought to those people because they're maybe not just as bad as the rapists, but they're bad.
I mean, yeah. I was going to say, it's something where even in movies, like you said, it's hard. It's not hard, but there are very many complacent characters in those movies, and you don't often see them as much as we should for how
Right.
prominent they are in these communities and in, like you said, in these horror movies and even thrillers of the times now. These tropes are becoming more of a trope
Yeah.
for this exact reason, because
Right.
it's rampant. We're not getting all of these women taking revenge or women utilizing the things that people shame them for in a way because it doesn't exist. It's not something like something becomes a trope because it's so common. and
Right.
it's so used.
Right.
This is why this is happening. This is why we can name off American Mary, Carrie. You can even name off Nancy from The Craft, Ginger
Yeah.
Snaps. Like
Last House on the Left.
Last House on the Left. You've got The I Spit on Your Graves. You've got Cam, MFA. Everything that we've talked about. The fact that we can name so many movies is telling you that this is something that is common
Yeah.
in our society that people willingly see happen every day.
Right.
And as much as we're seeing that, we're now seeing these complacent people that are not willing to step up or say something or be willing to try to change the pattern or even just stick up for your friends. I'm a big proponent where sometimes I might say or do something that like maybe was a little bit of a foot in my mouth, or maybe I didn't have enough information. I want my friends, the people that I trust in my life, to be able to stand up to me and say, that's not okay.
Right.
Here's why it's not okay. So that way I can change my behavior.
Right.
But if the people in your life aren't willing to check you on sometimes, like I want to be able to check myself
Right.
most of the time.
Right.
But there's always going to be 1 or 2 times where maybe you just didn't know, or you weren't thinking, or you just genuinely didn't care enough.
Right.
Which is still not okay.
Right. And I think that those friends that sort of let their friends get away with it are they're the complacent characters.
Yeah.
They're all of those characters. I think like the first time that we saw a character like that was like, remember Last House on the Left, the young guy, the younger one of the, like, I guess he was the young brother.
Yes.
He didn't end up, I don't think, engaging in the behavior. I think he just sat there and was
I think
like,
he just sat there in the original. He just sat there.
I think that
really.
like you never really see him engage in that behavior, and that's sort of like really disturbing, because I feel like at any point in that time he could have saved those people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, what could, like, you have to go into a situation, what could you have done?
Yeah.
And there's lots of people that like could have done lots of things.
Like I said, it's one of those things we need to be more conscious going forward, because these things are becoming so commonplace in our society, and not just in the serious ways of the things that we've talked about, but even in just the more commonplace ways of just like saying something without thinking and offending somebody unnecessarily, or like making a comment about somebody's appearance or weight or religion. Like, these are the kind of things that we shouldn't be allowing to happen constantly.
Right.
And if you're seeing something and you're not saying something, what are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Exactly. And you can't sit there and worry like what everybody else is going to think when you say something, because at the end of the day, you get the most out of being that person that said something, or being that person that did the right thing. Even if it's not immediately obvious, you did the right thing. And that's how you should live your life.
And
life
you can't
advice.
and then you can't turn around and get mad when all of these movies come out and you see them and you see this strong shift.
Yeah.
And get bothered by, oh, it's another movie about this. Why is there another movie about this?
If this shit wasn't real, it would not be in movies.
It wouldn't be in as many movies.
You can't sit there and be like, oh, the women are complaining again about the horrible things that happen to them. Yeah, they happen, because who's going to make a movie about something like, aside from like a fantasy movie, who's going to make a real raw movie and call this a movie based in reality without that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important to say, besides the fact that it's not okay that these things happen, it's not okay to be complacent. I think that there is something really powerful about the shift in these movies and this considerable trope that is happening with these women being able to take the things in life that they need to not only move forward, but to make the strongest level of themselves. And I know too, like in my opinion, to an extent, a lot of these things have powered me to shift my thinking and take things that normally would really have affected me in the past or have destroyed me in the past to build me up and make me tougher. And it's a shame that you have to think about that, but I think that there is something beautiful that I don't want to skip over about the fact that there is now access to this, and people, and even younger generations or generations that haven't known how to handle things in the past. I'm not saying go get revenge on every bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, there's something that's really important about seeing these characters and seeing them take it and succeed in whatever way that they can. I think that's something that's really important too.
I think it's just like so important that we don't look at these movies and we think, oh, this director wants to exploit women. I don't agree with that.
No, I don't.
Many
think
people
that's the
feel
case.
that way. Many people feel like, oh, this is just exploitation and blah, blah, blah. It is exploitation of the issue, not of the women in the movie. They are participating in showing a real thing. That's what I think people miss. People see this and get offended.
Yes.
And you have to think about, why are you offended? This is something that happens every day. We need to be thinking more about this.
And oddly enough, a movie that actually does that in the opposite is American Psycho.
Yeah.
That movie almost feels like it should be heavily misogynistic, and it's not.
Right.
Which I think is really refreshing. And even in the way that you see how he interacts with women, how he interacts with his secretary, it almost feels like he's like, it should be almost objectifying, but it's not. It's really not in any way. And I think that's a movie that handles that fine line really
They flip
interestingly.
it, and they sort of focus on how shallow the relationships people in the movie have with
each
him
other
too.
and with him, and how in that kind of high society businessman type situation, they don't give a fuck what you do as long as you blend in.
Exactly.
And that's also something scary in its own.
That's like a movie about complacency.
That is that, and that's what made me think about it. Like, really at the end when he's like, it does not matter, he did not give a fuck about his whole confession video, because it was like, you need to just look the part, act like you can handle this, and we'll go on from there.
Him sweating about the watermark is literally everybody in 2021.
Yeah. Him sweating about the business card. Is.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it would be inappropriate to do a fuck, marry, kill on this topic.
I would agree.
So let's replace it with something else. What do you want to do?
Let's replace it with something else. Let's see. Let's just do it this way. What was the first female lead character in a horror movie that you saw?
Rosemary's Baby. Which is all I want to talk about.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about, do you feel like at the end, it seems that she's either been hypnotized or accepted the situation. Do you think that she has won? Do you think that she is like a dead woman? Do you think she's just dead? Or do you think that she lost, like she just, everything in her life, just like she just accepted the failure?
I think she totally lost.
Yeah.
I don't think that her accepting it and becoming complacent.
You think it's the Stepford Wives?
I think
all over again?
Yeah. I don't think that Rosemary won at the end of that movie.
No.
I'd actually like to see what other people think about that. So leave it in the comments below. At the end of Rosemary's Baby, do you think Rosemary technically won the situation? Do you think that her being accepting of what was happening and becoming basically complacent and deadpan was her just moving on and taking it in stride? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Comment below. My first one, oddly enough, is probably Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
Ginger Snaps definitely was like the first one that I saw lead character in. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is cool. And that's a weird one. I think people
It's a good one.
It's
a good one. I haven't seen it more than once.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Ginger Snaps is
I'm going to
great.
go home and watch it. You go home and watch Promising Young Woman. And I'll go home and watch Ginger Snaps again. I don't think I've watched it since high school.
Yeah. It's one of those, I think the shift in Ginger Snaps was probably the thing that, like, I don't know, stuck with me through the years. But other than that.
Yeah. Well, if you've made it this far, then you ignored my content warning. That's fine. So that's good. Yeah, you got to hear our perspective on some of that. This is a little bit more of a serious episode. But
it's an important topic nonetheless.
Yeah. It's important. It's why we're here, being two women making a horror podcast.
Making a podcast about the things that, you know.
We don't just like it for the aesthetic, folks. Not like all the men at the horror convention think.
I'm dead. But, you know, we're also just breaking boundaries where we go.
Everywhere we go. And that's what you should do. Every day.
Live authentically, and if you surround yourself with people that make you feel like you shouldn't be living your authenticness, find different friends.
Exactly. If your friends ask you why,
find different friends.
And you know, God bless.
Keep it real. You in this fucking
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller, a chud.
What did it mean to you to see that? Did it mean they love me?
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.